I'm going to have a spray bottle so that whenever the cat jumps on the table, I can spray him. Because
Has he
else he would
been
just be walking all along here.
has he been naughty?
Oh, it's just a cat. They're a pain in the ass. I can't be bothered with cats anymore. I'm done. I'm done with the feline race.
Yeah, you've got high maintenance ones, don't you?
Don't even.
Yeah, like last year we were still building the house, so everything around the house was mud, and as soon as the rains started, they would just track mud up and down the stairs. And then, of course, when you're sleeping, they're naughty, so they're jumping on the counter. So our whole countertop would be just
Oh.
every morning would be covered in dry dirt.
And then on the floor, you've got the dead birds and the dead rodents that they drag in.
Well, we've jerry rigged because we got two cats and they're
Mm.
brothers. Tiger is smarter, so he knows how to pull the cat flap towards him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He can pull it. So we lock it so they can get out, but they can't
Mm.
get in. Oh, but Boots can't get in
Mm.
because Boots is the one that brings animals in. Tiger doesn't. He just eats them
Oh,
out
okay.
there.
Okay.
So Boots just sits outside, and so there's all these dead. Like in the summer, I'm like, what's that smell? Just rotting animals around the house. He'll just willy-nilly drop them wherever.
Yeah. They're
Um,
just a pain in the ass. I am done with cats. I am so done. Give me a dog any day. They
yeah,
they they really are a nuisance in my mind. They ruin the furniture, scratch everything up. I've
I
got
know.
this cat. He won't poop outside, so I'm there in the cat litter
Oh,
dealing
fuck.
with shit, and I'm so done with shit in my life.
I know, it's funny, I don't there's something like when my cat, like, begs for food, like, he gets fed twice a day, but there's something about that meow that just gets under my skin. Like,
Yeah.
Tara, she's like, "Oh, you hungry, baby?" And
Yeah.
and and Cat's like, "Meow." And I'm just like, inside, I don't really let it inside, I'm just like, "Fuck off." Like,
I know.
stop being so beggy. Just get your own. He's like, well, see, he doesn't speak. It's the poor thing. It's like the only way of it
Yeah.
asking for food, but
But they'll just
it
roam
just,
around the house whining and bitching, and I'm just like, "Stop your fucking complaining and demanding." Like, it's like they're demanding, like,
I
"I mean,
know.
in the middle of the night, they'll wake me up at 4 in the morning just meowing around the house, being annoying, being a pain in the ass for no good reason. It's just
Yeah,
why? We're all
yeah.
sleeping, fuck off." So I've
Did you
definitely expired in cat ownership.
did you hear about what happened with our cat the other day, Tiger?
No?
So Tiger, he's more independent, right? So he went. So he's often gone for like 3 days or 3 days at a time,
Wow.
and he it was like 5 days, and we are like, okay, something's up. And I'm thinking, and Tara's thinking he's probably a goner. And the kids are crying, and the penny's dropping that Tiger's
Oh.
not coming back. And so Tara, there's a Facebook group. There's Facebook groups for everything in your community
Oh,
if you look
yeah,
for
yeah,
it.
yeah,
So there's one for lost animals on our
yeah.
street or something. So Tara's like, "Oh, I'll just post a picture." And we did post posters around on lamppost. And it's funny in my head because I grew up on a farm. Maybe I'm just cold hearted. I'm just like, whatever. And
Yeah, yeah,
but I would not, if it was me alone, I wouldn't go through the effort of printing up a picture. I'd be like, yeah, he's gone,
yeah.
whatever. No empathy there
Yeah.
in so we post a picture of Tiger, and then we get this message back, and it's this lady down the road, and she's like, "Is this your cat?" And it's a picture of Tiger meowing at her door.
Mm,
So what he'd been doing is leaving and just because we give them raw meat, which is expensive, but they
mm.
would much rather eat McDonald's food, right? Like
Yeah,
cheap
yeah.
cat food. Like they love that. Makes them fat and irritable
Mm.
and everything. So he would wander down the street and go get fed by these people. They were feeding him. And it had Tiger's collar on. We're like, yeah, that's our cat. And she's like, shit. And she's like, I think I just gave your cat to someone else because I posted it and someone came and picked it up and said, that's my cat. So,
Wow.
so, so yeah. So then the drama starts. And then so Tara, like, can you give us the number? She's like, yeah, for sure. And I mean, the picture is like our collar right on it, right? So
Mm.
Tara reaches out to this lady and says, sorry to bug you, but I think you've got the wrong cat. I think you've got our cat. And she's like, nope, there is no way that's your cat. I called the SPCA and they told me that it's my cat, which is a total lie because you have to
Yeah.
take it in. And we had the cat,
Tag.
a chip put in it. So she's like, here's a video. And she's like, here's the cat with its kittens. So Tiger's a boy. And she's like, here's a video of Tiger, supposedly a girl,
Mm.
and her kitten. So Tiger's sleeping purring, and the lady's there, and she's calling it some other name, which is really offensive, like, "Hi, Thomas." I'm like,
Yeah.
and Amelia sees it. She's like, "It's not fucking Thomas. If I knew where you were, I'd burn your house down.
Yeah.
Stop calling him Thomas. It's Tiger." And and then the kitten comes up to touch Tiger, and Tiger just swats at him. I'm like, oh yeah, real close there. So Tara's just like, okay, can we just go to the vet? I'll pay for it, and we'll just proof it, and then you can have the cat if it's yours, and I'm sorry. And she's like, oh, I don't know if I've got any time, blah, 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 blah. And then she's ghosting us. So Tara's like, what should I do? I'm like, well, you're probably going to have to call the police. It feels so lame, right? Calling the
Yeah.
cops. And the cops are like, what's her Facebook page? They find her Facebook page, and in seconds they can find out where she lives, which is crazy, just from her Facebook page.
Wow.
And like, we can go over there, but it'll escalate things. So if you can figure it out between you, that's best, obviously. But she's like, okay, what do we do? What do we do? So I said, you just tell her, if you can't get to the vet this week, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to call the RCMP. And so Tara texts her this, or message her this, if you can't get there this week to the vet, then we're going to call the police, unfortunately. I hate to have to do that. And then she messages back, she says, where do you live? I'll drop the cat off right now.
Wow.
So I'm like, what the hell? Like,
Weird thing to do.
Like, remember that movie? I think it was based on a real true story where a woman loses her child in a car crash, and she's so distraught that she steals someone else's baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ever watch that?
I've seen documentaries where that's happened.
Yeah,
Really.
this one was based on a true story, and and then the father, the marriage actually, so the couple that lost the child, their marriage ends up falling apart because the woman just goes crazy. She turns to drink, and so he's living on this cul-de-sac, and he's driving to work one day, years later, like 12 years later, and this kid rides his bike right out in front, and I think he almost hits the kid, and he looks at the kid, and he's like, "That's my son," And
Wow.
so he calls the police. They do this DNA testing. Turns out this boy was living 2 blocks away for 12 years.
And she had
The whole
basically
time.
stolen him.
She'd stolen him. And then when they said, yeah, sorry, this is the poor kid had to go to this other stranger's house, which was his real dad. And in the night, he would open the window and sneak out and go and sleep back in his because they were good parents. They were just desperate for a child.
Right. Where did they steal him from, though? From the hospital?
That part I can't remember. Yeah, I don't remember where they stole them from, but crazy.
The thing is with Facebook Marketplace, I'm not on there. We're infamous on Facebook Marketplace because our dogs trot around the neighborhood, and we're the irresponsible dog owners because we can't be bothered to spend 15 grand on a fence. So our dogs will get out sometimes, and unknown to us, they're all over Facebook because people are so incensed that our dogs are trotting around. And we'll have neighbors send us, your dogs are on Facebook again, here's a clip. And we've got, one of our dogs won't let anyone near him. He's just got those fuck off vibes. So even if I see him out on the street and open my car door and say, come on, come in, he looks at me like, I'm not coming in, I'm doing my own thing, and he'll trot off. He's got some attitude. But they'll post these videos, and then it'll be, does anyone know who this dog belongs to? Found it on on Popular Drive. And then there's like literally 30 comments underneath. Oh, yes, we know these dogs. They've got such irresponsible pet owners. These dogs should be taken to the pound. We should be calling, And we're completely unaware that all of this is going on because I don't check any of these pages, these community group pages where they just bitch and moan all the time.
Who's got the fucking time to comment? It's so crazy.
It's just unbelievable.
It's like trolls online. I'm like, who's got
the...
It's like, what are you doing
I'll
with your life?
advertise a room in my house, because I've got an in-law suite. If I advertise a room, I have to turn the comment section off because all I'll get is abuse just for advertising a room. It's too expensive. It's because you're part of the problem because you're charging so much. Oh, that window looks a bit small. It looks like an illegal window. You have to have it this measurement. So someone said, no one would be able to crawl out of that if there was a fire. And I had to stop myself from saying, well, I only rent to thin people, so it shouldn't be an issue. This is what they'll go on all day long, bitching
I know,
about the
and
room I'm advertising.
I mean, I'm dyslexic, and anyone who follows my Instagram page knows that or even our YouTube channel, I'm terrible at spelling. But in my head, whether I spelt there wrong,
Mm.
because there's 3 different ways to spell it, it's like, who cares? But people really care. And I get it. If you're a speller, it must drive you crazy, but I can't see the wrong. And I'll do an Instagram post for my company or whatever, and people be like, yeah, you spelt it wrong. I remember when it was the trucker convoy, and I was like, this is so 1985. It's supposed to be 1984. But I
Right.
just got loads and loads of comments. If you're going to mention that book, make sure you get the date right, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I might think that, but I would never type that. Like, I just don't have the
Yeah,
fucking time, or I don't
I
care now.
know.
It's so
I know, but
weird.
that is the marketplace. That is the Tuesday
The gossip.
marketplace gossip. Yeah, a friend of mine said, "Oh, where she lives out in a little village outside the city, it is brutal. The Facebook marketplace." So this old
Banter.
lady, what's that?
The banter.
Well, it's worse than that. So this she said the other day, this elderly woman had leftover sandwiches because she had done a party, and she said, "I'm on the corner of this street. I've opened my trunk. I've got like 30 sandwiches to give away." And something that is quite a nice gesture. The comments were, "I don't want your salmonella poisoned sandwiches. You know, have they been in a fridge overnight, or have they been left at room temperature? Like, are you trying to kill your neighbors?" And all this terrible, horrible,
Yeah, it's
really
big,
not
probably
necessary.
overweight people like in their basement, eating chips, just like watching Jerry Springer. Just fucking no
Well, it's the
time.
Karens. They're literally, some of
Yeah,
these
it's like,
people
get it.
are called Karen, and they've got nothing better, and they
Yeah,
love all of that. Yeah.
it's weird.
But
It's so weird because it's so foreign to me, like to to care enough to get all riled up about some stupid.
yeah. Well, my
You know,
kids will send me
we're
screenshots and say, "Mum, the dogs are all over Facebook. You need to go find them." By the time I
it's
get this,
embarrassing.
because it's really embarrassing, because my friends at school are telling me that our dogs are trotting around the neighborhood and Facebook's blowing up with them on Facebook. But by the time I get that message, the dogs are home. And I'm like, no, they're not. They're right with me. Well, this morning they weren't. And this morning there was all this stuff kicking off about our dogs in the neighborhood. And
Yeah.
what harm? Like, okay, they're back home now. Big
It's
fucking
funny
deal.
because I'm renovating these in town here. There's a bit of an old mall. It's a mall. It's the only mall we have, and I'm renovating the bathrooms, and it's taken 2 months to renovate the bathrooms. Well, there's in the mall there's a Canadian Tire, London Drugs, and Quality Foods, and so there's 3 other options to go to the bathroom. And people are losing their minds because the bathroom's under renovations. Like, I talked to the manager the other day. He's like, when are these going to be done? I had a man just stand in front of me and shit his pants right in front of me. He said
Wow.
it all over the floor. Another guy is like, he said, then I had a lady come in and she walked into my office laughing like a hysterical fake laugh, like, you said it'd be done in 2 months. It's still under construction. And then she just laughed so loud all the way up the mall. And then he goes, have you seen the Facebook page? I'm like, no, I never go on there. He's like, I just
Mm.
go on Market. He's like, have you seen the like massive like caps locks? This is unbelievable. And it's like, and we're like we're doing everyone a favor by upgrading the bathrooms. And so if you don't upgrade them, you're gonna get bad messaging like, oh, these bathrooms look like shit. When
Unsanitary.
you're gonna, yeah. And I hate to pigeonhole people or whatever, but it's like the low income kind of bracket, and this is generalization, but they don't do themselves any favors. It's kind of like a homeless guy saying, I can't get any work. It's like, bro, if you take a shower and you
Mm.
show up on time and you don't like take 15 smoke breaks, you probably would be hired. Like, you're your own worst enemy. But you got
Right.
these people that are on welfare and they bitch the most. Like, your average Joe, like me, we'd kind of walk past and be like, oh, really need to go to washroom. Oh, it's under construction. Where's the next one? And you see those people and they're like, okay, I'll go up to Canadian Tire and go
Mm.
pee. But for people who have a really small world and their
Right.
whole world is like just going to the mall, picking up my welfare check, getting the beer. I don't know what it is. It's like, it's weird, but they're their own worst enemy. Like, they've created their own, I don't know. I don't know. It's like, yeah, it's weird.
What
It's
I've
like, I
noticed
wouldn't
because
hire any of you guys. Like, I wouldn't hire any of you guys. You're just a whiny, itchy, small world, small
small
you know, it's
mentality.
weird.
I think what's interesting about rural Canada, and I can only speak from my own experience here, is Nova Scotians. I talk to the children a lot because they're friends with more people within that demographic than I am, as far as um, they'll say, we go into other people's families and what they talk about is so different than what we talk about at home. And they notice it. And I'll say, like, what do they talk about? And they said they talk about Costco deals and it will be sports. So it will be about the Blue Jays or so it's sports related conversation, but then it will be
Mm,
deals or they'll, because my kids are like, I don't get it. Children their age will say to their mum, I don't like those bananas that you get from Superstore. Can you get the ones from Costco? Because they're my favorite. Or this yogurt's tangy. I like the other yogurt, this one. And my kids just open the fridge and whatever's there is there. And they don't even know what comes from where, what the fuck's going on, because it's just not important to them. It's just food. But they're in other families
mm,
where products, deals, we call them the Costco families because it's just like this fixation of, oh, have you heard? Kitchen roll is on sale right now in Costco. It's 15% off. And they'll actually talk about that amongst
mm.
themselves as a family. And whereas when we sit, I'm just like,
Shoot me now.
well, but then and then my kids will try and have in-depth conversation about human behavior with these people and get nowhere because they've never had conversations like that. So they're not interested in any sort of human psychology. What they want to talk about is products, deals, and sports. And what we sit around our table talking about is ideas, business ventures, human behavior, why people act the way they act, kind of dismantle
Mm,
making sense of our world. And I didn't know
mm,
that that was any different than anyone else until my children go out into other families, because I'm not sitting around the dinner table with other families like they are, their school friends. And this
mm,
is a very blue collar province. So what they're getting is the hockey families and the baseball families. And, they're getting kind of a real exposure to
mm,
that. And they are noticing these people talk about really different things than what we talk about. They'll say, oh, look, the neighbors have put their Christmas tree up. Wow, that's a week earlier than they did last year. And they'll talk about the Joneses next door and, oh, looks like they've got a new vehicle. Oh, well, they must have come into some money. It's just this strange curtain twitcher,
mm.
gossipy kind of thing that they're caught up with and comparing and stuff. Whereas
I wonder
we
what that
don't
is.
notice
I wonder what
anyone else. We're in this little world that we've created where we're like, okay, well, how do we start the business and what would the business look like and what would our strategy be? And we're kind of like, we don't even notice that other people aren't talking about that stuff and they're trying to make sense of it.
yeah, I mean, I guess a community, like if you're living in a small community, then you kind of need to be interested in those little things, right? Like I noticed Tara's dad, who's obviously an older man, but he lives a extremely safe life. Like he got a job as a teacher because it has a good pension, and he lives in Nelson, BC, in Proctor, in a small town. And when he comes here, and he won't travel because he's extremely left, like far left, I would say, but and thinks that we're killing the environment. So he won't fly anywhere because he thinks he's being part of the problem and ruining the environment. So he'll only stay in British Columbia and go to
Right.
places that he can drive to. And all the conversation is always the same around the table. It's like, oh, so and so's got a bad knee, and she went and got a knee thing, and I think I should get my knee. I don't know, and
It's so
yeah, the
funny.
prices in Safeway have gone up. Like I bought coffee for $12 and now it's $15, and I just can't
Exactly.
believe the
They
price
talk
of
about
coffee. And
products and deals.
yeah, and he's done the drive from Nelson to here, which is an 8-hour drive. He's done it hundreds of times, and he knows everything about British Columbia, like geography and history, like only like Canada or BC. Like he's
Yeah.
fascinated about, and I'm kind of like, it's yeah, when you've seen the world, it's like, I guess if you talk to an astronaut, whether they say one of the hardest things for an astronaut when he comes back is that it's going to space is even better than sex. So
Mm,
nothing really compares. So everything's boring in
right.
comparison to going to space.
Right.
Um, But yeah, I mean, I wonder what the world does need both. Like, it's kind of like you've got the guy that invents the thing, and then you've got the guy that uses the thing. The guy that
Mm,
uses the thing never really thinks about inventing a thing. But
mm,
I always think, oh, I could have thought of that. Or I wonder,
mm.
like literally yesterday around the table, we were talking to Gabe. He's like, just always like, how am I going to get rich?
Yeah.
I'm like, you need to find a person's problem, a pinch point in someone's life, and then figure out a solution to it.
Mm,
And if you can do that,
yeah.
um,
And that's what we
but yeah,
talk about all the
it's interesting
time.
the two, yeah.
Yeah, that's what
But
me
with
and
the
the
trailer
kids we
trash,
talk
like what
about.
I'm noticing at the mall, what I'm noticing at the mall is that trailer trash type of label, which is kind of derogatory and a little bit racist, I guess. But it's so true, though. I mean, it's like I wouldn't hire those guys. So it's like,
Right.
we can't get a job. It's like, dude, you're a whiny bitch. Why would I want to hire you? You're the one that's going to be like, oh, it's 4:49. I've got lunch break, and they just take off. Like, you know what I
Mm,
mean? Whereas you get more of an entrepreneurial spirit, and they do whatever it takes to finish the job because they've got some sort of competitiveness in them,
mm.
But then you've got these guys who watch the clock and, oh, it's my right to have a coffee break. You can't butt in here in the middle of my Like, I would never want to hire those types of people.
Right.
Um,
And
so
yet I
they're their
guess
own
they
worst
are
enemy in a way. It's
needed.
like, no wonder
Well, what I
they
find
are needed
interesting.
because those are the guys that are okay with working on the factory,
Yeah,
on the
and
production line, right?
never really kind of going beyond that, and this is what my kids are noticing because they're surrounded by a lot of blue collar people, and what I love about blue collar is that they're extremely hardworking, like what you're referring to is people more like welfare, right? But blue collar are the kind of
Yeah.
electricians, the plumbers,
Oh,
the
I'm blue collar.
carpenters. Yeah, but you're not, and this is where I'm gonna tell where I talk to the kids, they're like, "Okay, we value blue collar are really important because they're hardworking. But what's strange is they don't aspire to go beyond their circumstance. So they'll proudly work 60, 70 hours a week, not take vacation or sick days, but never become the boss and never aspire to go beyond that. So they'll stay in their lane, collect their toys, have the quad bikes because they love the toys. That's where they seem to put a lot of their money is in
Mm,
those things. And what my girls
mm,
can't quite understand is why do they not want to then employ people and be the boss? Like some blue collar people want to, but a lot of them just stay in their lane and are incredibly hardworking and are almost uncomfortable with time off. They don't like, the weekends, they
mm.
get a bit antsy, just get me back to work. And they'll pride themselves on working 6 days a week. But what's bizarre is that doesn't seem to produce any growth. And where I'm talking to them is going, okay, it's a more, this is so kind of, people are going to be like, no, it's not like this, but whatever, I'm just going to say it. But a more white collar attitude would be, how can I be the boss of that? How can I be that entrepreneurship isn't always present in the blue collar people. So they just stick to their lane. And I look at it and go, you do realize that if you rented out your basement, someone could pay your mortgage for you. Why are you not doing that? I don't understand why you're not doing that. But they've got that kind of, oh no, but you might get a problem tenant and, someone in your space. And I'm like, who gives a shit? They're paying your mortgage. Like, why wouldn't you do that? But they'll complain about not, it's just such a different mentality to me because I'm always thinking, how can I generate
Yeah, and
passive income? How can I be the owner of the business, not the worker bee?
Yeah, I mean, I think the blue collar world has a lot of like I'm blue collar, I would say, but I have that entrepreneurial. But I'm surrounded by people um, in my business and in my life who even Tara, right? Like Tara, like we had this when we finished the house, we had that unit outside that we were living in, that tiny
Mm.
house, and it was just full of stuff. And I'm like, we should just get that Airbnb. And she's like, yeah, one day I need to get that done. I'm like, well, let's get it posted for next week. And to her it was like, oh, like this in my head. I'm just like, it only takes a couple of days of hard work. Post it, even if the
Yeah.
pictures are shitty. Like it's a bird in the hand's better than two in the tree,
Mm.
right? And in her mind, she hadn't like spent weeks processing how she's like
Mm.
really. Whereas and you're probably the same. It's just like I need 50% of the information,
Yeah.
and then
And we'll
I'll
figure the
launch my
rest out
boat
later.
into unknown waters, and the other 50%. Well, yeah, and the other 50% might be really bad. Like there's it's shark infested water. You didn't read that part, did you? Oh, fuck. But sometimes it's all right and you weather the storm, but I'll read half the instructions,
Yeah.
literally, put it
Yeah.
down and just go for it. And then I realize I have to take it all apart again because I didn't finish the instructions. But Tara's someone who like her launching process has to be very premeditated, very thought out. She has to sit with it and settle. But I think we come from more of an urgent, like
Mm.
we just need to get money in. Oh shit, we just need to get money in the bank. Um, and so just do it. Just put the sign out on the road. Just do the thing. Like when she goes through a pile of clutter, literally she'll. Like yesterday, I come downstairs. I'm sorting through the books. She opens every single book and then like looks through it and pans the pages and sees that oh, there's a bookmark that Gabe made, and ooh, I don't know whether. And then there's this whole process of should we throw it out or should we keep it, and it usually ends up being kept.
Right.
And I love that. I've learned to love it.
Yeah.
Well, sort of.
No, you
I
don't.
just
Just
don't have the
admit you
time
don't
for
love
that,
it.
like at all. Because in my head, it's a very quick decision. I'm like, I'll cry
Mm.
for a second, and it's like we had to put a chicken down because the chicken was lame, and I'm just very pragmatic. It's like Tara's
Mm.
like, spend some time with it. I'm like, let's just get the head off and
Yeah.
then just move on. You
Yeah,
know,
I know.
like clean the
Oh,
toilet, do whatever, do the messy thing so we can get back on track. But
I think we've
and I
got the
think
opposite problem is
I've
that
seen
I'm
the benefits of the premeditate.
yeah, I mean, I would say I'm extremely decisive, and a lot
As
of
a
the time
delay.
that works, but then I'm more inclined to make a mistake because I'm extremely decisive, but I would rather there's nothing I can do to stop myself being extremely decisive. So I go in and I'm like, yeah, 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 no, done. And then afterwards, that might not have been the best decision, but I'm never going to stop my decisiveness because it's just who I am. And like you, we kind of rush on
Mm,
ahead and figure out the details later. But I think what I notice when I speak to people, so people will complain about their situation, complain about their money, but have an empty basement that could easily be rented out. And when I talk to them about that, and I could say, look, you've got a split entry, just make a door, they come through their door, you go through yours, you never see each other, it's perfect. And to me, it's just a no brainer. Like, this person's going to pay your mortgage for you, and then it will free you up to pursue a career that you're satisfied with. Well, then I quickly realized that A, they just
mm,
want to bitch and moan and they don't want to do those things because they're just bitching and moaning. But also, there's a lot of
mm,
fear that people have about those what they would consider a high risk. I'm like, it ain't. They'll say, yeah, but what about people who get squatters? I've heard stories. The only people who tell you stories like that are people that have never been landlords. Because the people that are landlords will say, sure,
mm,
1% of people are a pain in the ass, but it's well worth the risk. End of story. But the fear is
mm,
all yeah, we don't want any more work because it's almost like they're afraid of more potential work. Whereas I think you and I kind of lean into work and we quite like just work. Mum does as well. She loves work. And so we'll figure out the details later, but the risks don't outweigh the benefits in my mind when you're looking at things like this. I think I'll take my chances and I'll figure out the details later.
yeah. Yeah, I notice it with my building projects around here. It's like if there's an artistic way to do something that will look better, one person would say, well, that's going to take like 2 months more. Like, why would you want to do that? I don't even think about that in my head.
Yeah.
I don't care. I literally don't give that any credence at all because to me, once I've seen the vision of what it can be, the work is irrelevant. It's just
Mm.
work. You
Yeah.
just plow,
Yeah.
you just get it done, like plow through it.
Yeah.
And whereas some people be like just completely practically minded, like what's the point in fixing up your house because you're just going to sell it anyway? That kind of
Right.
mentality,
Mm.
Whereas I can't help myself. I'm like, well, it can look more beautiful if I just put
But
in some
that's your artistic.
sweat labor. And it's like, what's the point? It's all going to rust and burn.
Mm.
What's the point in washing your car? It's a 12-year-old vehicle. Why even wash it? And
Mm.
I'm like, I can make something better. I'll do it. I mean, I'm like,
Yeah, but this is what I've noticed, and you might be the same, because I think there's 9 types of intelligence. It's not just, we talk about IQ intelligence, but can have lots of different intelligences, and one of them might be linguistic intelligence. Some people pick up languages really, really easily, and other people have spatial intelligence where they're
Mm,
amazing at choreographing and dancing. And there's a level of intelligence to that because they're very they've got good rhythm. And then what I've realized when I talk to people, because they'll say, oh, I could never, for example, when I'm like you creating a space, doing interior design or building something, I see the finished product in my head and I can make a decision based on what I already know it's going to look like at the end. So it makes decisiveness really, really easy for me
mm,
because I've got a 3D, I can literally close my eyes and walk through that entire finished product and be like, that's not going to work because I already seen it
mm,
in my mind that I need to change that. That's not working over there in the corner. But it doesn't even exist, but I've seen it. Other people
mm,
have to do the whole project to figure out
mm,
whether something's going to work or not because they don't have vision. They can't picture it in their mind and they'll say, well, no, I can't
mm,
picture anything. I have to see the finished product and then go, yeah, it doesn't work. And I'm like, wow, that's a really expensive way of figuring things out. I can have a 3D vision and walk through it in my mind's eye and already know what's going to work and what's not going to work
mm,
before it's even happened. And if you're like that, which you probably are, then
mm.
that's the difference. Because people who don't have that ability to have internal vision, I don't even know what you call it, like 3D intelligence, I don't know what to call it. They're scared of making mistakes because they don't know till the end if it's going to work, whereas we already do. Because you lie in bed at night going, where should the hot tub
Yeah.
go? Will that work? Will it fill the space? I'm picturing myself walking around. No, it doesn't work. I'm going to have to put it on the ground. Shoot, I'm going to have to put it on the ground. Do you know what I mean? Like we've already like, and then, but other people might not be able to do that. And then they're very doubtful of themselves. They've got a lot of
Mm.
self-doubt because they don't have that design mind. And I've just started to realize that not everyone thinks the
Yeah, I
way we
mean,
think.
I realized that a long time ago. I mean, I
Mm,
think the challenge for me is because I'm not a very good I guess I am a good communicator, but in a relationship, I have a vision for something, and then Tara, um, she's like, "So what are you planning to do?" I'm like, "Well, I just say it in very cryptic ways because in my head it's too colorful to be able to explain." And then she'll ask more questions, and it'd be like, to me, it's just so annoying because I'm like, you don't, it's just so stupid from her point of view. Because in my head, I'm thinking, you don't see what I see.
yeah.
And she's like, I have no idea what you're seeing. And
Yeah.
I don't have the skills to be able to translate. Like Dad was really good at sketching, right? So he would sketch it.
Mm,
But to me, I see something like you. I've
mm,
had it in clients' house, and they're like, I see something that's not there.
mm.
And they'd be like, "Ooh," I was like, "It'll look great, trust me." And
Yeah,
they'd be like,
yeah.
thankfully, we have a designer that'll actually draw it for them.
Right.
But I remember when we were starting out, there was a couple clients that just trust me, it's going to look great. And
Mm,
that's really risky because it's not my home.
yeah.
But the hard part is when your partner or someone that's with you wants to understand what you're seeing and you don't
Mm,
have the skills to be able to explain it, because in my head it's still a bit iffy. Like I'm still like I have a plan, but I'm still walking it one step at a time. So I'll build something, stand back and think, nah, that's got to go over here.
mm,
So it's like this mirage of an
mm,
idea, but it's not like completely like there's going to be a window there and then
mm,
there. I'll build some of it and I'll stand back and I'll
mm,
see the shape, because to me shapes are really important. Like
mm,
when I was building this house, for instance, I would stand back and I would see shapes. I'd be like, no, that's got to be more steeper and that's got to be more
mm.
rounded.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's hard to share that vision with a partner.
You just want to tell
And
them,
Tara's
fuck
learned to
off.
just let me
Leave it to
go.
me. It'll be
Just
fine.
like, well, thankfully, Tara really, she's like, it always works out great when he
Yeah.
does it. So just let him go. But, we were planning on, but I'm also learning that, and I can't believe I'm learning this so late in life, but I'm learning that if you have an idea, like I want to build this big dome, right?
Mm,
That we can do, yoga and breath work and different things in. And it's going to be a lot of work because it's going to be very artistic looking. And originally I was like, okay, finish the house, tear the barn down, put the dome there. Boom. And so that was I was literally ready to start pulling the barn to pieces. One Saturday I had a cup of coffee and it was pouring rain. I was just staring out the window. No one was up in the house. And I just kind of was like, you know what? The best spot on this house is right where the greenhouse is, like in this property. And it's the ugliest thing on the property. I'm
Yeah.
like, but that is the prime location, right in the middle, looking at the forest. Had I not spent the time, and then I texted my friend and I was like, what do you think about moving the greenhouse? How hard would that be? And had I not taken the time to just sit back on that Saturday morning and just take a little bit of space, which I'm not very good
Mm,
at,
mm,
I would have been halfway through ripping the barn down
mm,
and would have been pigeonholed into that decision. Whereas now I'm like, I like macroed back a bit more and a bit more, and a bit more. And it's a real challenge for me to like take the time to allow a bit of planning, because I'm so used to just like starting and just figuring it out as I go along. And I've realized I've made quite big mistakes that for me, I feel like mistakes no one else would ever see them if I'd
mm,
only just kind of spend a bit more time thinking about it. Because sometimes what you see, you can be so tunnel visioned in the vision. Um, what you see there's a different way to do it too, and you don't
mm,
allow yourself. Cause okay, I got my visions locked in because
mm,
I just want to start pulling nails. I want to start hammering in 2x4s. I want to start doing the work. And I mean, when I was writing music, my producer was really good at, I would say, here's a song, it's awesome, and he'd be like, the chorus that you just wrote is the pre-chorus, you haven't found a chorus yet. I'm like, what? Like, the chorus in a song is one of the hardest things to hit, right?
mm.
And he'd be like, so if we take the chorus that you just wrote and we make that the pre-chorus, and then you up that pre-chorus into a chorus, and in my head, I'm like, no, I've already maxed it out. Like, that chorus, I don't think I can get any better than that chorus. He's like, yeah, you can.
Mm,
And he'd shove me into the room and say, don't come out until you've written a better chorus.
mm,
So all of a sudden, and what a lot of songwriters would do, if they don't have a producer that's that pushy, they
mm.
would settle on that pre-chorus being the chorus, and it's very subpar.
Yeah.
And so I mined myself out and just pushed. And then he would put me in the room and say, I want you to write this song, but all these words that you normally use, like river and ocean and whatever it might be, he's like,
Mm,
those are off. You cannot. And he'd write a whole list of words. He says, you have to explain that using different words.
right.
And I'd be like, oh, and it was
For
just
fuck's
really
sake.
painfully hard. But looking back, I'm so glad he pushed me that way. So I think what I'm learning too is that, yeah, there is another way. And she's gone. Are you still using your phone?
Yes, because now I need to order a microphone. I've got the laptop, but I need all what you've got. I
Oh,
need a
you don't
headset. I
just
can't
use.
I can't put my Apple earphones in because there's no place to plug it in. Or can I
There's no.
just buy an adapter thing?
Well, on the side, there's not a tiny little hole for headphones.
Well, nowadays, when it goes into an iPhone, it's like that more pronged one. It's not like a.
Oh yeah, just buy an adapter,
Yeah,
or
okay.
just
So,
get a cheap set of wired
right, okay. I'll do that.
1/8 inch. Yeah, it's 1/8 inch, right? You need this one.
Yeah, because I don't have that. Because our
Yeah, I mean, these are just
Apple ones are different.
these are
Yeah,
so
okay.
cheap.
Okay. I think what I realize is what you're saying is you think you can land on something, and as soon as you've landed on it, like, I'll tear down the barn and put the dome there, you square it away in your mind and don't revisit it and
Hmm.
just think, well, that's done, that's decided. And then you have a morning where you're like, but what if? And then you can kind of calibrate. But I think
Mm.
what can happen is if you're really decisive, you can land on something. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you just kind of become linear, thinking, well, that's just the way it's going to be. And then you had that moment where you're like, because as soon as you started talking about tearing down the barn, the first thing I thought of is, why aren't they tearing down the dome? I mean, the polytunnel, because it's so unattractive. So that was the first thing that came into my mind. Is like, if I were them, I'd get rid of that polytunnel. Can you move it then?
Yeah, turns out you can. You've seen a lot of
Okay,
people.
good. Okay,
But
that's
imagine sometimes I imagine being on like SpaceX or Apple. Hey, we want you to be on our like design team. Can you imagine how long it takes to get something so excellent? Like, it's like meeting after meeting after meeting after like reaching. Okay, we got it. Let's go. No, there's another way to do it. There's a better way to do it. Um,
And then they
and-
do all that, and then it blows up on launching. And all that work, how many of his rockets have just blown up?
Well, I've been learning too that on Rogan, he's like, some of them are planned because
Okay.
they actually like the last. So the media likes to say, "Oh, look, you can't even build a rocket right," which is so arrogant. I mean, so stupid. Like, yeah, you give it a try, mate.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the last rocket they sent up, they actually left panels off of it and they left parts off of it because they wanted to see worst case scenario. Like, if
Mm,
something goes wrong, can we still push? Can our machine still work? So they're
right.
actually planning for for some shit to go wrong because they're
Right.
trying to push the envelope. Like,
Mm,
how much can fall off this rocket before it falls
mm.
into the sea?
So what's the worst
Um,
case scenario?
yeah, imagine having that much money. It's like that was like $50 million.
Billions. Yeah.
Next, build another one.
For real.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, but
yeah.
that I think you're in a blue collar industry, but you don't have a blue collar attitude because you're not
Mm,
actually your industry is just like mine, great, I'm cleaning Airbnbs and it's a service. But my
mm,
thinking is always business orientated and growth orientated and, branching out into interior design and management and employing other people. And can we do events? And, it's not, I'm just really noticing through talking to the kids that they're noticing also how different people's mentalities are
mhm.
and finding out where they fit because they'll say,
Because
I
you
can't bear the thought of staying in one lane for the rest of your life. But I said to them, but if that's what both of your parents have done, you wouldn't even think there was anything strange about that. If you've got parents that have stuck to their lane and never gone above it and just like, yeah, head down till retirement and all they're focused on is retirement. That's your
mm.
norm. And their conversations is about sports and comparing themselves to other people and deals at Costco. Um,
I think it's just like the world needs all of it, right? Like you need because if you're an entrepreneur, you need people that are just going to log in and log out because otherwise, if everyone's an entrepreneur, nothing
yeah,
will ever
yeah,
get. Everyone will
yeah,
be
yeah.
thinking of new ideas. I think it's like I was talking to the manager of the mall that I'm working on, and I'm like, "So what do you do for a hobby?" And he's like, and I never would have thought this is like 49-year-old man, drives a beautiful sports car that he's worked so hard for, and has had his own businesses as well, and he's like, "I game." I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I game. Like, I'm like, and now I've got my wife into it. And he's like, I've been doing it for 10 years. So he goes home on a Saturday and they have their breakfast and they get all excited and then they stick their headset on and then they meet all of their friends in this game, like a Dungeons and Dragons game, and they'll play all day. And he's like, I could totally unplug, recharge. And he's like, I'm going to a wedding next month in Nanaimo from a couple that invited us to their wedding that met on the game. So the couple that are getting married met in the game and they're
Right.
inviting friends that they see in the game. Isn't
That's
that
so
crazy?
funny.
And
Yeah.
he's like, you can tell who's a shithead in the game very quickly. And I have no idea what he's talking about, right? But he's like, some people will steal stuff where they'll be underhanded and you immediately like blacklist them. And you can see who's good people in real life and who's a bad person in real life as to how they act in the game. And I said to him, I said, I would have never pegged you. Like I was not I thought you were going to say, oh, I like tinkering with cars or
Yeah.
I'm a gamer. But I think, the world needs all of those types. And I know
Mhm.
so many people who their nervous system just cannot handle like irregularities
Mm,
and unsureties. Like, they'll go get a job that has a pension at the end of it
mm.
because and that to me is like, I mean, I've made reckless decisions like marrying a woman I knew was a bad idea at the very beginning and then just saying, I think I'll work it out.
And it
I'll
didn't
work it
work
out.
out.
It didn't work out. So really bad. Like probably if I was more like, thoughtful, I would have just been like done the math and thought, no, no, pull the ripcord. But I was like,
Yeah.
whatever. Let's just roll the dice and
Yeah.
see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm grateful looking back on my life that I've had a colorful life. And I think folks that aren't, and I'm not criticizing if you're that type of person, like, not saying, oh, you're a loser at all. Like I actually admire that temperament in a way because
Mm,
I'm like, wow, I wonder what that would feel like. Like I would go mental, but
mm,
sometimes I see people who look so satisfied with what they have in life, and I'm like jealous of that
mm,
because I'm always looking over them. I wonder what more I could
mm.
work towards, or wonder what more I could do, and um,
Well, it's like what I was saying
I,
the other day. We were talking about, you know, some of the senselessness of life and some of the crazy things that happen, and how it's like a great game. And we were talking about why don't we just live life for ourselves and be crooks and be because people get away with such bad behavior, but do they actually
Mm,
get away with it? We don't know, because we don't know if there's an afterlife and whether there is any accounting for our behavior here.
mm.
um and
Yeah, sometimes you were saying sometimes the bad guy wins.
Well, they do, and there isn't justice, and that's what I'm experiencing in my own life. And then I have to pull back and go, it's if I see this as how well can I play this game, regardless of whether in the afterlife I have to be called to account for what did I do with my time. That's a very kind of, I don't want to live my life thinking I'm going to have to answer to someone. At the same time,
Yeah, it's a
I can answer.
guilt-ridden, superstitious.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm doing this so that when I stand in heaven, God will say, well done, good and faithful servant, because I don't even know if that's going to happen. But I do know Jane Fonda, I saw a clip of her. I think she's in her late 70s now. She's old, but she's had so much plastic surgery, you can't really tell what she is. But she said, you spend
Mm,
the last 30 years, when you get into your 60s, you know you're on the last stretch, and you
mm,
might have another 30 years if you're lucky. She said, I want to live my life with at least regrets as possible. So I've spent the last 30 years making amends, making sure my relationships with people are good, making sure that I am not living with regret. And
mm,
so let's say you are a crook and you do get away with stuff and you feel satisfied that you didn't get caught. Personally, based on my personality type, I would have a regret of having taken advantage of people, of having hurt people. Even if I got away with it, have I really got away with it? I want to be able to
mm.
live with myself and say, I've tried my best to have a good connection with my kids and do right by them, and all of those things.
Yeah, I guess, when you think about, if you die in a car crash suddenly, then, but you don't, I mean, a couple of things. No one knows how they're going to die. But if you
Mm,
die suddenly in a car crash, you're not going to have the chance to feel any sense of regret, maybe.
mm,
But maybe it
yeah.
goes really slowly and you will have regret because we've heard testimonies of people saying things slow down.
Mm,
But if you die like a lot of people die, which is a long drawn out death,
yeah.
like our dad had a ton of regrets, right? And what
Mm,
a sucky way to have to go. So maybe we need to live life with the end in mind.
mm,
I know that, yeah, like some people look at me and say, "Oh, look, you're covered in scars and injuries." And yeah, I wish I didn't have those. But if having an injury was the cost to living a full life, I kind of take it in a way.
mm,
Thankfully, I'm not in a wheelchair, so that's a bit frivolous to say that.
mm,
But it's I know that there are regrets that I'll have, and they're mostly probably emotionally based. Like I wish I connected more with, maybe I'll say I wish I flew to England more. When we lose
mm,
with mum when mum goes.
mm,
As I often think about that. The
mm.
fact is I can't afford it cost wise and time wise at the moment, but it's like
At the
I'll
moment, just
probably
for the
be a bit
last
of
50
regret.
years. It's
Yeah,
more
I
than a
mean,
moment.
even siblings, right? Like
Yeah.
making the effort to get together, we just let another year go by and another year go by, and I
Mm,
feel more and more distant
mm,
with our other two sisters. And but with my, I know for sure, like having that kind of like let's just go for it type of attitude. I've really lived.
mm,
um, but yeah, like I think that we don't know what's going to happen after we're dead. But if you're lying on your deathbed for years or months, and you just wish, and you have all these, I wish I treated so and so right. I mean, you're really going to get honest with yourself probably when you're closer to death. Like all the bullshit is going to fall
mm.
away, and you'd be like, yeah, I was
Yeah.
an asshole,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And also, people aren't going to want to be around you if you're a dick.
Mm,
Like if you were a dick to people your whole life and you just kind of moved on and, is in this narcissistic way of just self gratification. Oh, it's all for me, 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 me.
mm,
There's going to be an empty
Mm,
empty church at your funeral,
mm,
and there's not going to be a lot of people visiting you in hospital.
mm.
Is that what you want? Because that's horrible.
Well, that's why I'm wondering whether when you see people getting away with things and bad behavior, I mean, Jordan Peterson would say nobody gets away with anything. And going through the divorce that I'm going through, I would say that's absolutely true for myself, that anything that was in the dark has had to come to light and has had to
Yeah.
be even revealed to my children who I am as an individual. It can no longer be hidden, the good and the bad. And it's very humbling. And nobody gets away with anything, because even if you lie to other people and think you get away with it, you don't get away with it in yourself, because you know you've lied, and you have to live with yourself based on
Mhm.
those kind of choices. So outwardly you might get away with these things, but you weaken your character whenever you do things like that. And I've really seen that play out and
Mhm.
learned that conscientiousness and honesty, although it might have a high cost, to be able to sleep at night going, I didn't lie, I told the absolute truth, I was scrupulous with my details, and that could really bite my ass
Mhm.
in practical ways. I might have to pay
Mhm.
a price for those choices that I made that I'm now being honest about. But I do think that my kids' opinion is the most important opinion to me. So I'm constantly going back to, in the final analysis, what will they see as my conduct over these trials, and not just what I'm going through, but like your business has faced what are your kids observing and the people around you observing about how you've managed that level of stress, and how
Mhm.
you've approached it, like, means everything
Mhm.
to the people in your life. And that's what I'm really coming
Yeah.
back to is, oh, everything does matter, everything matters, because people are constantly assessing you based on your behavior and how
Mhm.
you react
Yeah,
under
and if
high stress.
if we act like the animal kingdom, right? The animal kingdom is primarily its primary goal is to make the best cub spouse it can, right? To survive. Like
Mm,
right from day one. It's like that this is how you survive. Get out the nest, learn to fly. It's like very unselfish. Whereas
mm,
humans are like, how can I get the most pleasure out of this life? How can I me, right?
mm,
I mean the animal kingdom is not like that. It's
mm.
it's all putting its younger, and yeah, you're right. Like if we were to look through that lens of like how can I prepare my children the best way possible for, because yeah, I guess it's tangled up in like accepting the fact that you're going to die and your ego doesn't want to accept that. But if you accept the fact that I'm going to pass and they're going to go on, how
Mm,
can I give them the best tools possible? And looking at your life as a mother and my life as a father is like last night I was pretty tired, and it was like it's winter and it's dark and raining, and Gabe comes home and he's like, what are you doing, Dad? I'm like, I think I got to go to the gym. And I'm like, I was just dragging my feet
yeah.
walking in circles around the kitchen. I don't want to go. And what I was thinking was, it's interesting because in my head at that time, I was thinking, I wonder if being a better dad is to just stay home in the kitchen and be with my son.
Definitely when you don't wanna
And
go to
what
the
he said,
gym. That's a good
yeah,
call.
but what he said to me is, he's like, oh, Dad, he's like, just picture it this way. Every day at the gym is a day longer that you're going to live on this earth.
If
So
only.
I was like, all right,
Yeah.
kick my ass out the door. And that was what he
Mm.
actually said. A
Yeah.
13-year-old kid. He's like,
Yeah.
and so what he wants is his dad to be around longer. So
Mm.
to him, if he wants dad to be around longer, it's like, get your ass to the gym.
Yeah.
I'll be fine back here.
Yeah.
I just want you to be around longer. And that's what that's showing him, is that I'm right there as like a little tiny seed of like, dad didn't want to go. He picked himself up and went.
Mm.
And it's like all of these things are just sowing little tiny seeds of, and if, yeah, and your kids seeing what you're going through is doing so much for the fabric of who they are as people, right?
Yeah, and you don't know where the chips are
Yeah.
gonna fall either, and I've made so many mistakes throughout this process. And I've realized what's really humbling is kids will love their parents no matter what, no matter how badly behaved their parent is. I know people whose parents are
Oh
in
yeah.
jail for crime, and they still adore their parent. Now, as they become adults, they see their parent for who they are. They know that they're crooks, but they still have this
Mm,
loyalty to the parent. If there's a bond there,
mm,
there's loyalty and love, regardless of how badly behaved their parent is. And I think that's I'm really starting to see that you can't, there's a level of acceptance you have to have that if there's a parent there that's behaving in a certain way that everyone else is disapproving of, the children will still be loyal and loving to that parent no matter what, no matter how low they go.
mm.
And that's kind of like hit
Bit of a
me
bummer, isn't
quite
it?
hard. What's that?
Well, it's a
Well,
bit of a bummer if you want, like in your situation where, it helped move things along if the kids are just disowned him, right? Or,
right. But they're not,
inflicted
they
his maximum pain.
right, but it's like, oh, um, that it doesn't work that way. If there's a bond and there's a love, then that it doesn't matter how,
Mm,
and it would be the same with me as well. But I think, like what Gabe said to you, they desperately want to see you take the high road. It does mean so much to them. Of course, if
mhm,
you take the low road, they'll love you anyway. And if you take the high road, I think it's just absolute relief on their part that they can then admire their parent and not just love them, but actually want to emanate those qualities. And there's so much more to be gained by taking the high road with your kids. But even if you don't, they'll
mhm,
still love you anyway, which is a really bizarre phenomenon because they're just desperate for
mm,
that connection and that love to not go away. And that's really
mm,
been an eye-opening thing for me to see because other people don't share those sentiments. When society and friends see someone misbehaving, they will cut them off and go, you're so badly behaved.
mm.
I'm so appalled. I don't want to associate with you. But the kids, no, they will
Yep.
always light up for the parent unless there's no
Oh, yeah.
connection
I mean, if
whatsoever.
Joseph yeah, I guess you can't push it too far. I mean, I think that, I've watched in my children's life, if you do the heroic thing, the thing that's hard, they're gonna have a real spike in the admiration. It creates like a spike, right?
Mm,
But if you don't do the heroic thing, there won't be that spike, but it will still be there'll still be consistency there.
mm,
And I notice in a father is like, how many spikes do I want to create or can I create where they see dad acting over and above the minimum
mm.
requirements of a parent, or not even
Yeah,
a parent, as a human being on the planet.
yeah.
You can drive your kid to guitar lessons and pass the hitchhiker or pass the guy trying to change a tire. He's going to go to be on time. But if I was to pull over and help the guy in the pouring rain fix the tire, he's going to miss his guitar lesson, but it's going to create a spike
Mm,
in him that's like, oh, dad broke off of the straight line between A and B and did this thing that was that cost and was over and above and helped a person. So I think as we go through life, it's like, how many of those
mm.
high points can we plant into our children's life? You could live your whole entire life and not have any of those spikes, and they
Yeah,
would still love you.
yes.
But you have an opportunity as a parent to create a super child in a way.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the same as us creating. Like, do you want to step back a little bit and make this thing really, really great, or you just want to do an okay, create something that's just okay? And I think it's the
Yeah.
same with our children. Do you want to create a child that's just cool, like okay,
Mm,
or do you want to create something great where your
mm,
kids talk about you like you're almost like superhuman?
mm.
My dad did. I mean, that's what I really want.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
Well, it's interesting their perspective because my girls will say, "Mum, it doesn't matter. Even if you have no money whatsoever, we still know you're going to be a millionaire." And I'm like, where are they getting that notion from? What makes them think that I can succeed big time? Because I don't know, it's just an interesting place they've got this perception of me that I don't, may or may
Yeah.
not be true, but where are they getting that? Like, Mum, you could be stripped down to nothing, have not a penny to your name. You're still going to be a millionaire in a few years'
In the
time.
gulags.
Yeah, let's go back to the gulags. Um, but what I think they're saying, the only thing
Yeah.
that I can
Very
think
interesting.
of that makes them land that way, and the reason, and they're not worried about me. You'll be fine, Mum. Of course, you'll be fine. You'll figure it out, and you're going to run this town. okay, where are you? Because I'm not that confident. I'm not as confident as you guys are. I think it's because
Mm,
the only thing I think of my attitude towards life is telling them constantly, if you work hard enough and you remain conscientious and you
mm,
put the work in, you're going to succeed. So I've been telling them that for years. So then they assume that I'm also practicing
mm,
that. And I suppose in practice, I do just
mm,
get on with it, no matter how I feel. Same, you do the same. They create this
mm.
belief system about you. And it's just interesting because it doesn't have to actually be based in any sort of reality. Like I haven't got $1 million to my name, but they're convinced I will. And I just find that quite funny that they draw these heroic conclusions.
Yeah, I think it's probably because time and time again throughout your life, what you just call everyday living is like you've like, oh, there's a pile of shit that has to be moved. Roll up your sleeves and move the pile of
Mm,
shit. Like that's what you've done, right?
right.
Over and over and over again. Like I don't think we can make the mortgage payment. I don't know if we can.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a mountain of snow in front of our front door.
Mm,
We can sit there and cry about it. Just roll up your sleeves. And so they've just over the years, it's just like, yeah, mom does what it takes, and
mm,
she's consistent. And I
mm,
mean, I've been thinking a little bit lately about consistency, and I'm like, the world rewards consistency. Like I kind of wish that like that YouTube channel I had going, I kept it going for 2 years and I did a really good job on editing everything. If I still did it today, so that was 2 years on from that, like, so I'd
mhm,
have 4 years under my belt,
mm,
it would probably be bringing in some income,
mm,
but I gave up
yeah.
because and I was like, fuck, it's like it's a real lesson, right? Like if you stick at something long enough, you'll probably succeed. But
Mm,
most people, like I did after 2 years, I'm like, yeah, and you
yeah.
cut yourself off and you cut yourself short, and it's like nobody stick at it, you will
Mm,
break. And I've heard like athletes who don't have natural born talent but they just stick at it end up surpassing the guy with natural born talent, and it's just a
wow.
matter of time and consistency
Mm,
and just putting in over and I've been thinking about that lately, just keep grinding.
yeah.
um
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, because I think that what happens where I'm at the age, and I'm sure you are here, where you see marriages falling apart and see people going off the rails and losing their way in life. And for a lot of people, the rewards of being an adult aren't good enough. It's a low reward. It can be a low reward because it's a grind and it's a slog. And so I'm talking to my
mm,
kids a lot about how some people halfway through life look at the lack of reward in being an adult and they decide they're going to go back to being a child, and they become reckless and they start gambling with everything they've got and they roll that
mm,
dice over and over again. And eventually the whole thing blows up and the whole family implodes and the business
mm,
implodes and they actually end up losing everything. And the reason why they started playing Russian roulette with their life is the rewards in their mind
mm,
weren't good enough for the effort they put in, because being an adult requires huge amounts of effort, making adult decisions, being conscientious, consistent, disciplined, not falling into temptation. All of these things are high a kind of demand on yourself, and the rewards seem so
mm,
little because it's just a slog and it's hard work, and then maybe you get diagnosed with something and there's no guarantee that by putting in that amount of effort you're going to get a great result, because there's a senselessness to life at the same time. But, and this is what they're seeing, the alternative is so much worse, because if your life does implode, you will look back on what you lost and go, I
mm,
was the wealthiest person in the world and I just traded it all in for taking a chance on,
mm,
whatever I had this fantasy about that life could be. So I see it as
mm,
often when you're an adult and you're on that road, the rewards seem really, really small, but the alternative is just so much
mm,
worse that it, you don't even really note the reward. But when you're sitting around the table with your family and having dinner together, and you've managed to pay all the bills and you've got a home, and there's just very simple things like that is the reward, and it is a high reward, but you just
mhm,
normalize it and don't actually place much value. But people who lose that, like mum in her 70s meets so many people who've lost it all because they gambled at midlife. So many men have a midlife crisis and roll the dice over and over again and
Threw the
lose.
marriage in, went for the young girl.
Yeah, they lose their marriage, they lose their respect of their children, so they've got disconnect with their children. They'll lose their pension because they have to give half of it to their ex-wife. They lose their home because she bought them
Mhm.
out or whatever the thing is, and they gamble at midlife because they have some ego crisis. And then 30 years later in their 70s, all they've got is stories and they've got no reciprocity. And and it man, then you look back and go, actually, I was already living the reward. I just didn't acknowledge it because it's so subtle because you normalize the reward. So, you're on a
Mm.
farm, you've got a family, everyone's
Well, we're
well.
comparing ourselves with the Hollywood version.
Yeah. But, you are living the reward right now, and I am too, of adult behavior and not, this, what's he called? Huberman has this brilliant quote. He says, "It doesn't matter how far down the road you get, you're always the same distance from the ditch." And he was talking about addiction, how people can go 20 years without drinking alcohol, but in one night they're back in the ditch because they relapse. It doesn't matter how far down the road you get, you're always the
Mm,
same distance from the
mm,
ditch. And I think that can apply to just regular people without addictions, where you could gamble it all away and lose everything and look back and go, I literally had it all. And to be cognizant of that and
mm.
appreciate that what you've normalized is actually a complete miracle, um, is probably kind of the better
Well,
attitude.
yeah, it's funny, right? Like we're surrounded. Yeah. Oh, I was thinking about it with investment because I've kind of been dabbling in crypto a little bit, and crypto's taken a massive dive right now. Like Bitcoin's tanking, right? But me and some friends mined Bitcoin 10 years ago ourselves. Someone built a supercomputer, we all invested in it, and we all had a full Bitcoin each, which right now, or a couple months ago, was worth like $150,000, right? One Bitcoin. Um, had we been consistent and just sat on it, but
Mm,
everyone sold it because they panicked because there was a bit of a dip in the market. And I'm kind of watching, because I have some investment in it, and I'm watching the people and they're like, look at the last 7 years, this is what happens. And it's like very consistent, it goes all the way down, everyone dumps their crypto, freaks out, and then it goes
mm,
all the way up here
yeah.
again. And we're right now, and then 6 months later, and it's based on time, it goes
Mm,
down into a bearish market, and everyone
mm,
dumps their crypto. And it goes all the way back. So we're here, and you guys are all freaking out again. Just look back and look at this. Look at
yeah.
it's almost identical.
Yeah.
And the people that held on to their Bitcoin when everyone was freaking out, saying you shouldn't be, they're retired now, right? The people that
Amazing.
bought a bunch of it and just said, yeah, we don't know, it might
Mm,
be good. They just sat on it and just
mm,
like a chicken on an egg. And
mm,
then they're the last ones laughing, and they're just like in their 30s, retired.
amazing.
But I think that, this normalization of things happens, like with nature. We're looking at AI, down the barrel of AI, and all the things it can create for us and how amazing it is. And robotics and all of this type of thing. And when you really take a look at nature, if we lived in like a matrix environment where it was all like computers and chips and just very hard surfaces, and everything was man-made, and suddenly we got to walk into this world of nature where there's like ants and butterflies and
Mm,
trees with moss and growing big and all this kind of like this, we would be absolutely blown away and amazed,
mm,
right? Because our whole world has been like shiny and hard. And then
yeah.
we go into this organic where it's like these things have a personality
Mm,
and can evolve and all this stuff. But we've so normalized it because we're around it all the time
mm,
that we don't realize that we're actually standing in the Garden of Eden, and we
mm,
constantly trying to create a new one. And you can be with your partner and think, oh, I think I could get something better in someone else, and you throw it all in the toilet and realize, shit, I had it back then and I didn't
mhm,
realize what I had. I had this, like, with Tara and I have been through things. Like when you go through things together as a couple, it's like you can't, that's an investment in the bank. You've kind
mm,
of been through a storm, come through the other side. If you get with a new person, you don't have any of that investment. And
mm,
and now you got to go through it all over again to have that kind of depth where you've
Yeah.
been through struggle together.
I can't imagine what it would feel
And so
like.
we're living in paradise, but we don't see it.
Well, you normalize it, and I can't imagine the regret of letting something like that slip through your fingers, letting a marriage that you don't want to lose get lost, or because I've ended a marriage that I did want to end. So I don't have any regrets about having ended it, but I cannot imagine what it must feel like for someone to look back and go,
Mhm.
I imploded that marriage and I have such regret because now I'm disconnected from my children because they think less of me and I've lost the love of my life. I I cannot imagine that level of regret. Um, but you're right. Me and the kids talk a lot. They'll say, "Oh, what would you do if you became a millionaire, like won the lottery?" And I would say all the time, I wouldn't change anything about my life apart from I'd love to go on more winter holidays because the winters are really long here. But I wouldn't want to move house. I wouldn't need to change my car. I don't give a shit. I would like to pay mortgage off, stay exactly where we are, and just travel a bit more. And so that drive to, actually, there's very little I would change about my life. If an injection of money came in, I think the most valuable part would be stability and not, but I wouldn't feel a need to upgrade anything. I would just, let's go on holiday whenever we feel like it.
Mhm.
That would be lovely. But I love my friends. I love my home. I don't care about, flashy things. And very little about my life would change, which shows to me that I'm so close to what I want in life. I'm right circling around.
Mm.
What I already have is
Mhm.
actually very, very close to what I want, just kind of without the financial
Mhm.
strain, I suppose. But I wouldn't be like, I'd get the hell out of here, we'd go and buy a mansion on the lake, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nope, don't need any of that. That's my, that shows me that I've already got what I want, really. And to deepen that and to kind of broaden it would be great.
Mm.
And I'm always looking for
Mhm.
preparedness just to not
Well, I
have
think
that stress. But that's it.
mhm. Yeah, well, they say, I don't know if it's they say true happiness, but like I've heard people say about financial wealth is like the nicest part of, if you're, what was it? To reach, to kind of reach like a relaxed state is just to know that wouldn't have to work for 6 months and the mortgage would be paid and all your bills would be paid. That is like a sense of like nervous system
Yeah.
calmness. When you live paycheck to paycheck, which I've been doing lately, it's not very fun, and it's hard on the nervous system because it's always, the wolf is like scratching at the door all the time. But to know the wolf is like, a good 2 months walk away
Yeah.
gives you a
I
sense of
agree.
like, oh, I've got some room to breathe here.
Yeah, I agree that
Um,
certain amount of financial stress is
Yeah, I mean, I think that
reasonably
it's a
disruptive.
weakness in the human condition, that we just are constantly attracted by shiny things. Like we throw a 20-year marriage in the toilet just to have a young, tight body,
Mm,
but the novelty will wear off, and then you'll be alone in a
mm,
bar because she's not going to stick with you long term
mm,
either.
no.
You know, just saying and you're going to be alone. Realize, and then you'll realize. Oh, actually just having, a nice, a home and
Yeah.
and a wife that loves me deeply and, was more important. Like that's, but we're sold a pack of lies from Hollywood, really,
Mm,
that success is a Lamborghini, a mansion,
yeah.
a hot spouse.
Yeah.
That is true. That's the pinnacle. And we've been sold it forever. And it's
Yeah.
gone into our psyche, and we keep buying into this. We know deep down that it's not the truth, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird. I've been following that guy. I don't know if I shared his Instagram. I think I did, but I'm looking at it as like almost like looking at like a fish in an aquarium, you know? I'm just watching it, and I'm like, I should
Mm,
really delete this guy because he really kind of repulses me in a way. But he looks like he's about 23, and he's who are those brothers that are always like those real alpha male brothers?
Eight brothers.
The Tate brothers. Yeah, I think that he idolizes the Tate brothers. But
Right.
he's into boxing, and he always makes sure his watch is like front and center, like he could probably scraped every penny he had to get this expensive watch. And he's always shirtless when he's doing his posts, like he'll be cooking shirtless. and he's a British guy, and he's just so like, well, he really like he's really he understands like oops, you're gone again.
Don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
So this guy, he
Well, yeah,
understands.
he understands like oh, there's an echo.
That's good.
Really bad one. Really bad echo. It drive me crazy. Oh, it's gone now. So he understands like visualize it. He's really into visualization. Like, I visualized I was rich before I'm rich, and I'm just looking at it like honestly, I'm looking at like an alien life form, just like wow, just like looking at this guy and his life, and he's like look at my crypto this morning, and he shows the world this, right? And then he has people filming him trying to pick up a girl. So he'd be like in a crowded, like in a bar, and he'll be like talking to a girl and like acting all like James Bond like, and then in the comments it will be like, see, you guys, you don't understand what a girl wants to look, what a girl wants to hear, and he's like, you got to play the game, and it's all like, look how many like literally look how much money I've got, look how in shape I am, look how easy it is for me to pick up a girl. I'm just baffled by it. I'm just like, wow. Like I can see that he's a pretender, right? He's not quite, like, he goes to Thailand, and I don't know. He obviously does some financial things that have allowed him to fly around, but it's so contrived. Like, who puts a camera down on the table while you're eating dinner with friends, and like you make sure that he sees that he's got a glass of wine and that he's sophisticated. I'm like, dude, you're so try hard. Like, who does that? But he's trying to dip into that Tate world. He's trying to be an influencer, and young men are like watching his content and like saying, wow, bro, I could wish I had your talent in picking up a girl. You make it so easy. And I'm like, fucking hell. Like,
So what's in it for you? Like, what do you get out of it? Is it just fascination because it's a different species?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just like, wow. Like I watch it and I'm just like, no, this is really lame. I just want to delete it. But I'm also like, I can't help but not watch the car crash.
Yeah.
In a way, and maybe he'll be really successful, and he'll probably have because his whole driver is like, I want a Lamborghini, I want expensive watches and hot girls and money in the bank. Like that is his goal for life.
Yeah. And he'll get it.
He'll get it,
like
but
he's nearly there.
That's so weird to me.
Yeah, but to what end? To what end? It's when I talk about red pill, I don't know anything about this guy's kind of worldview or whatever, but I would imagine it's a very when they talk about red pill, it's like, we've unlocked how to do life as ultimate successful men, and they're looking for a subservient woman, and they're the macho boss. And that's my understanding. They'll often be called misogynists. They've got a very particular idea about how women should behave, and that men are the top dogs, and they want their women to dress a certain way. And it is fascinating because I did a deep dive into that whole realm because I was trying to figure out what the hell it is. And it is bizarre because, well, it's just very lifestyle. It's very materialistic. It's 100% value of materialism versus personal growth, and like a reflective. They're not exactly philosophical people. This is all just complete surface materialism.
It's different yeah, it's a different currency, and I'm listening to Chris Williamson rattle on over and over and over about, he thinks the existential threat is this low birth rate, lack of the family, and he's a single guy that doesn't have any children, but he's seeing and talking to people, and he keeps coming back to that as one of the biggest things, like the biggest problems in our world today. And you kind of think, well, yeah, it's guys like that, like where are the influences? And I'm sure they're out there that are saying like true wealth is having children, because back in the day, that was true wealth, like a big family. What's the goal in life? I want to have a wife and children and a family. And if you didn't get that, like if you were barren, it was considered a bit of there's something wrong with you, right? And now, I got close friends that stay with in Vancouver who have 0 kids, and most of their the conversation is around aesthetics.
Yeah.
Look at this pair of jeans I just bought. They're $600, and
People
it's
like that will say things like, on their Instagram, I'm married to so and so and we're raising our dog together. Or we're raising our cat. Like they'll have an animal that is their
exactly that.
child and we're raising it. And you're like, you're not fucking doing anything, man. You have no idea. Raising a dog.
No.
Give me a fucking.
I love this friend dearly, and I don't want him to think that but I'm observing it more. But the child, they're a bit. I was like, oh, the family question came up the other day, and it's like, yeah, I don't know if we need kids because our dog it's kind of like having a child. I didn't say
Except for when you're
anything.
70 and you've got nothing and that dog is long gone. And that's what
Yeah.
I see is that it's a very short term. I get it because you do have financial freedom and you can vacation and have a very nice lifestyle. But what I see is
Mm,
there's this tipping point where when those people are in their 60s and 70s and they don't have the grandkids around and there are no children, I think it's
there's an
not a
emptiness
great
there, right?
long right. That then it's not in my opinion, a great long term idea. It's great for the first portion of your life when you've got all that energy and you just want to have money and independence and vacations. But the second portion where you circle back around and you realize that these children you've produced are the most important thing in your life and that having a good relationship with them and the grandchildren, the joy and the togetherness is actually the only thing that matters. And I think going through a
Mm,
divorce has really highlighted that to me is these are the most important people in my life. And I'm so thankful I had 3 kids because not only that, you talk about the big family. Part of the reason why that's such a smart move is that from even a business point of view, you're looking at corporation there. They will go on to make, you're creating a wealth system there where you
mm,
have
mhm.
all of them hopefully succeeding in life financially and giving back to society. Like it's a great business model. My hope is to be in
Well, I think
business
that
with my kids and what a great business model that would be to be in business together.
I think the ego is what stops. Well, not totally the ego, but it's like, okay, if I have children, I'm going to ruin my body for a woman. Like my body's fucked.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's going to go through it. And my time is not my own. I'm going to not going to be able to sleep in, and we're not going to be able to go to travel around the world when we want at a drop of a hat. And I'm not going to be able to buy a new computer.
Yeah. We'll just go
And so
camping.
they're all selfish. They're all selfish drivers, right?
Mm,
And it's a lack of investment. It's like saying, yeah, I'm not gonna put money away for a rainy day for a pension. And you look at that and think, well, that's really short-sighted.
mm.
Like any advisor is going to be like, there is going to be a time where you can't earn anymore, so you need to work towards that. But when it comes to children, it's what your body was like. You have a womb, like men have little swimmers around. Like, what's it's kind of like, I just bought the biggest 4x4 on the planet. Have you ever taken it off road? Nah, never. You've never
Right.
seen what it can do. I mean, it's literally designed for off road. Yeah, I just drive it to and from work in the city.
Mm.
Man, are you ever going to take it off road? No, probably not. Why don't you just buy a sports car? It's like, no, God gave you a 4x4 with all of this stuff, and you can actually climb up that mountain. And man, it's going to be so exhilarating, but you're going to get scratches on your car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to get my car
Well, that's the
scratched. So
reality.
we have all of this apparatus to be able to create another life, and people some people can't do it, and I get that, but people choose not to use it. And then
Well,
maybe you're
I
going to have
get
a
the
regret down the
idea
road
that
saying, yeah, I never really.
it takes you out for 20 years when you're raising kids. You're basically raising children
It's
that give.
shit.
Well, not it. They don't give back. Like they are a drain on your resources. So until they
Yeah.
join the workforce, you're carrying this burden that is extremely expensive and doesn't give back and is kind of
Hmm.
parasitical. Um, because you're out of action for 20 years or more. You're wiped out in your prime. Your 20s and 30s, maybe your 40s. You're raising these kids who are unproductive and who require a lot of resource. So I do
Hmm.
think it's a massive, like, yeah, it's a big deal, but I think the payback is so phenomenal that the reciprocity for that comes later on in life, where you then let them out into the world, and it's just off to the races if you do it okay, or if they are functional in such a way that I still think the reward is worth it. Like it's worth it. You know,
Well, I
it's
mean,
yeah,
yeah, I mean,
it's
my
literally why we're
Raven's
here.
coming over for Christmas, my oldest boy, and he's just like, texting me. He's like, "I'm so pumped to see you guys for Christmas," and I'm like, money can't buy that.
Mm,
Like, your dog isn't going to say that.
no.
Like, my cat doesn't give a shit if I feed him or if the neighbor feeds him. If the neighbor
Mm.
feeds him better food, he'll just go over there. He doesn't like when we went and picked him up from that person's house who stole him.
He's like,
He
meh.
didn't give a shit. He would have gladly just lived there his whole life. And so, yeah, money can't buy that type of
Mm.
a couple of words that just can just warm your heart. Like, someone wants to be around me.
Well,
Someone
what an
wants me
honor.
to stay on this planet longer.
Like, what an honor that your
Yeah.
adult children would choose to wanna be with you is no I mean, that is the lottery win of all lottery wins, is that when they can choose to be with anyone else because they're independent and they've got no
Mm,
obligation to you, that they choose you, that they wanna spend time with. It's like,
yeah.
that is the ultimate. An adult child who doesn't need you for anything wants to actually be with you. That's the massive,
Yeah.
massive reward. So Raven saying that, yeah, I'd be like screenshotting that, going, fuck yeah. You know, that he would want to spend his holidays with you, come all that way, and that he's pumped to do it. It's amazing. It's amazing that they're choosing you because they're not. I saw this clip where it said, your children owe you nothing. You chose to have them. They did not choose to be born. They don't owe you anything as adults. If you treat them poorly, do
Mm,
not expect anything to come back to you in the form of relationship from them, because that was on you,
mm,
and they did not choose to
mm,
come into the world. That was your project. And it's actually you who owe them something because you're the one who decided to have them. It was your investment. So,
mhm,
don't go looking at your kids going, oh, why do you never call? Why do you never write? It's like you made that happen in one way or another, if that's how it's yeah, if that's how it is. If you think of your
mhm,
relationship with dad, you
mhm,
didn't owe him anything. He owed you something. And his lack of
mhm,
adulting and his disability and whatever it is that was interrupting his bonding with you, that was on him because he didn't make it a nice
mhm,
or safe enough environment that you would want to come back to him. That's not your fault. He chose to have you. He didn't provide a safe landing
mhm.
space. He fucked up and he missed out. But that wasn't on you,
Yeah.
any of that.
Yeah, he was
He wasn't adult enough.
yeah, he didn't protect his investment. He didn't pay it forward, as it were, and you're always paying forward with your children. And when that Bitcoin starts to spike, no man knows when that time is coming. But just hold and protect that investment, and do what you can to water it,
Mm.
and eventually the plant will grow. And I just think that the European style of currency, when you go to Europe and you just see the family unit is so much part of their culture still. And I feel like in America, Canada, England, or whatever, these young teenagers who are following these influencers, this needs to be made attractive. Like, how do you make this attractive to a young person? That the higher calling in life, like the real the best investment is not to work towards a Ferrari. It's like a family, like goal number one, find a good partner,
Yeah.
build a family.
Yeah.
And so many young people, it's like the last thing on their mind.
Yeah.
And now we end up with really low birth rates, and
Mhm.
because we've created the society has become extremely selfish and self-absorbed, and it's turned out in yeah, this is kind of desert
I
of
get how you like my girls, they're young, 19 and 16, but they're literally going, Canadian men suck so badly. There's no way we're going to find one worthy of settling down with. And they want children.
yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, I can't really argue with that. Their exposure so far to men in Canada has been really lousy. Potheads, gamers, dropouts, not interested in work, nocturnal, stay up till
Mm,
4 a.m., sleep until 2 p.m. And my daughter will say, it is not attractive. And they're just at the start of, these guys are not full of beans, like driven. No. And they're looking at their options going, well, we're going to have to look further afield, clearly, because so far
mm,
Canadian men are not up to
mhm.
much. And I can't say it. I'm like, well, I'll just say to them, well, it only takes one, doesn't it? You only need one good man, and there's got to be one out there,
It only
which is
takes a
true.
spark.
It only takes a spark. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking that's pretty they're pretty delusioned, or no, disillusioned pretty young, because I wasn't thinking that way at that age.
Yeah, and also just like, I don't know if when we were kids things were different, but does the man what no so Chris Williamson was talking about this on his 999 podcast. I thought it was really amazing. He was well, not really amazing, but maybe not revolutionary, but he was just talking about Hollywood, and you bringing up all these movies like, Twilight, Titanic, Beauty and the Beast, where the woman goes for the guy with no real anchor point, really
Yeah.
loose, really
Yeah.
withdrawn, like in all of these movies. And so this is what why are women attracted to the bad boys? And it's like because Hollywood has groomed you to believe that the bad boys, the exciting boys, whereas the guy that just works at the factory or works 9 to 5 and gets home late and has money to be able to buy himself his car, but yeah, he just has got a job and he's a hardworking guy and always goes to mum's on Sunday for dinner. That's like boring.
Mm.
And that's kind of a luxury position to be in, because if we were in a third world, if Canada spiraled into third world conditions, the economy would flip on its head as far as what a woman's attracted to, wouldn't it be? Because right
Mm.
now it's like, yeah, it'd be like, shit, this guy's got a house and he's
Mm.
got a gun and he can hunt and he can build stuff. All of a sudden it's like, that guy's more attractive. But now because we live in this luxury world, it's like,
But the ironic thing is,
do you know what I mean? It's like,
the guy with the gun who can hunt, they are the bad boys. Ultimately, basically,
mm.
women are attracted to resources. And when a man's confident, they're drawn in by that, which is why they're so vulnerable to psychopaths. And the bad boy represents the guy who's confident and he's going places. Even if he's not, they get lured in by the signal of I'm going places, I'm doing stuff. So the guy who's got the regular job and what you're describing doesn't signal confidence, resource, because women are looking, like we said before, for a protector, for someone who's going to who when the shit comes down can protect them.
Well,
And
how
so
do you explain
often,
Twilight, right? Because Jacob is like family man, consistent, strong protector, and the other prick,
mm,
what's his name?
Edward,
The vampire.
yeah,
Yeah, has just got money, doesn't have to work, just kind of sits around looking forlorn.
yeah.
And she's attracted to Edward. Is that because it's the wounded bird that she can rescue and fix?
Well, they're
Because
both
Jacob,
monsters. They're both monsters, though, because Edward's a vampire and Jacob's a werewolf. So women's porn, and Chris Williamson did a whole podcast about women's porn, and what it is literature that's always about a man who's untamed, who can't be controlled, and the woman somehow subdues him. And so basically, with Edward in Twilight, he's this vampire and she manages to domesticate him. And women want to domesticate. Beauty and the Beast is all about the wild man that then Belle comes along and domesticates him. And that's all women's literature when it comes to. It's the same with 50 Shades of Grey. He's into all this dodgy shit, and at the end, he just marries her and settles down, and they have a regular life. She tames the wild beast, and I
so it's
think that
so for
it's
women, it's like a conquest.
yeah, it is. They're drawn to the wildness of man, but the agenda is I will tame him and domesticate him. And so then he'll no longer be wild anymore. But the initial attraction is that he shows resources, and resources often come in the form of a man that's just slightly unhinged and, just a
So
beast.
so I wonder, because the end result is the tamed man,
Mm.
right? So the end result is the tamed man, but I wonder why some women are drawn to the challenge of taming the beast. Lost her again.
Okay.
Taming the beast. Is it because yeah, I wonder what that because that the end result's the same, right?
Well, I think the beast can
Like the end result,
showcase.
if you tame a wild man,
Just plugging my phone in. But it's showing capability, isn't it? The wild man shows women don't want men to remain wild because then it's threatening because he could disappear at any moment. So the best thing you can do then is get pregnant and then you've got him and he's trapped. But I think women will always be drawn, and the bad boy represents that type of, it might be misinterpreted because it doesn't necessarily mean they actually do have resources. But I think women are attracted to that because it shows far more potential than the weak man who's subservient and passive. I don't know the whole psychology of it, but all I know
but he
is,
ends up in the end
yeah,
subservient and
and that's
passive.
the irony is that, but
So why don't you just go
that's
straight for a subservient and passive man and forget the fight? There's something about the fight, right?
well, this it's the same with men. They're attracted to, it's the maiden
Oh
versus like
yeah, big time.
the whore. So why do they have affairs? Because they got the maiden, subdued her, she became the housewife and the mother, and now they want the whore, and they want to go around and get that bit of it. And it's this tension between they want something pure and untouched, but then they get bored of it and they want the excitement and then they run off. And with women, it's they want that wildness and that kind of beastliness, and then they want to tame it. And it's just this really weird, what would they call it? Polarity. I don't know, what, paradox. And that's why men have affairs, because
But I wonder whether it's I wonder for women whether it's a trophy hunt, even though it is similar. But a man definitely. I mean, I fully admit that they like the hunt.
mm,
Once you've got the animal, it's
yeah,
a little bit boring. But do
yeah.
women? Is it bragging rights to other women? Are you signaling to other women like I got? Everyone's attracted to the bad boy. I'm the one that got him and lassoed him,
Mm.
and
I guess it's just the dominant male in on the, with lions, it will be the lionesses are trying to get the most dominant male. Maybe it's prospects of reproducing. I think there must be so many different elements of it when it comes to, genetic reproduction, and women need to have someone who shows physical strength, and they're going to have stronger children.
mhm,
There must be so much. All I know is that Chris Williamson did this whole podcast, and he said that female porn is literature, and the literature follows a very specific formula. And the formula is either the wild man is a werewolf, a vampire, a millionaire, or some sort of villainous character. Someone who's dangerous,
mm,
and then their goal is to draw him in, seduce him, and then domesticate him. And I don't understand
mhm.
the science of that, but that's just consistently what women want to read. And that seems to be what they go for time and time again. And it's just a really interesting setup, because if you look at all of the movies that do well, that same archetypal story is played out over and over again. And it's interesting that that's
Mhm.
the case, and why, okay, once he's domesticated, do they get bored of him? Do they still want to be with him? I don't know. I think what then happens is the men demons come, they get restless and they want to go back out again and not be domesticated.
Yeah. The signal's really bad, Abby. I can't
All
really
right.
pick up everything you're saying.
Okay.
Maybe
All
we
right.
should leave it there.
Yeah. Let's call it a day.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground there and didn't go anywhere that I
All
thought it was going to go.
right. As always. All right. Good to talk. Love
All
you.
right. Love you.
Bye.